Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. In this one, I really wanted to split it up into two different sections here. The first, I wanted to really break down the latest rumors on what we're kind of hearing with the Jets offensive coordinator vacancy. And then after that, I wanted to just kind of recap everything that we've heard and seen so far. I mean, the Jets really are backing up what they said initially, which was they're going to cast a wide net. I mean, there's names being thrown around left and right. Older coaches, younger coaches, experienced play callers, guys that have never called plays before, coaches that have been fired, coaches that haven't even been an offensive coordinator, guys just ranging all over the map. I feel like the Jets have been linked to a ton of different guys here. So I wanted to just group them together and kind of just have a better understanding on where everybody lies moving forward, so we can hopefully get a clearer picture within the next couple days here on who's out, who's in, who's serious about taking the job, who isn't, what are Joe Douglas's plans, what are the Jets kind of thinking. But with that said, let's talk about the latest rumors. Yesterday, Adam Kaplan went on Sports Grid Radio and talked a little bit about the NFL coaching carousel and did throw in a little tidbit, if you will, about the New York Jets. But it was kind of hidden in the little clip. By the way, I'll leave it linked down below in the description box if you want to check it out. He touched on D'Amico Ryans and stuff, all really, really informative. But he said Nathaniel Hackett has a very good chance of getting the job if he wants it. But the Jets are also looking at two other guys and some potential coaches that are in the playoffs currently. And when we're talking about guys that the Jets have interviewed, coaches that the Jets like, there are two guys that stand out, right? In the remaining four teams left standing here in the playoffs, Kevin Patullo from the Eagles and Brian Johnson. Both guys work hand in hand together every day on that Eagles offense, right? Patullo's the passing game coordinator, Brian Johnson is the quarterbacks coach, and they just have so many things figured out on that offense, right? From head coach down to OC, and then of course lower on the totem pole here with Johnson and Patullo. I mean, you match that with the Eagles' talent, of course they're going to be in the championship game here. So crazy stuff when you look at Philly, and it kind of makes you think, are the Jets looking at one candidate here, or are they kind of interviewing both with the mindset of, we want both of you guys on the staff? Maybe one is OC, one is quarterback coach / passing game coordinator, something along those lines. That could be, because look, at the end of the day, yes, the Jets kept Rob Calabrese at QB coach, but his status moving forward is up in the air. That's not 100% set in stone. The Jets need an offensive line coach. The Jets need a wide receivers coach. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here. Is there maybe a plan in place from Joe Douglas and Saleh's perspective, where it's like, hey, we can potentially go snag two guys off the Eagles staff, promote them technically, give them a raise, whatever they want, and they could just run the offense however they want moving forward. One thing that's super interesting though, if Eagles OC Shane Steichen gets a head coaching job somewhere like the Carolina Panthers, which is a team that's high on Shane, all of a sudden the Eagles need to replace their OC. So you would think logically somebody would get promoted from within, unless the Eagles would want to bring in like Frank Reich, who was Sirianni's old head coach when Sirianni was underneath Reich in Indianapolis. I know it's kind of all over the place here, but just kind of throwing ideas out there. But in regards to Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, to hear that from Kaplan, if Hackett wants the job, he has a very good chance of getting it. It does make sense from some of the stuff that we've heard. Obviously, the Jets have interviewed Hackett. This is a guy who did some really awesome things with the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers holds Hackett in a pretty high regard. You look at the Packers' red zone offense with Hackett there, which was one of his main responsibilities in Green Bay. It was great. He leaves, the red zone offense falls apart. Okay, now, of course, we have to look at Denver, that whole mess of a situation offensively. Is Hackett the best offensive mind? Is he the best play caller out there? No, probably not. But we have heard Saleh rave about Hackett before, right? His play calling, just him overall as an offensive mind. So if you're just going down the checklist here, has he been an OC before? Yes. Has he called plays before? Yes. Has he coached in multiple locations? Yes. Does he have a connection, link, tie, whatever word you want to use, to a veteran quarterback? Yes. So, again, if you're just going down the checklist of needs or wants from Robert Saleh's perspective, Hackett kind of fits the bill. Also, we throw on top of it, he's worked with Saleh before in the past, back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, so interesting stuff. Every time I think about Hackett, though, to the New York Jets, my mind just instantly goes to Rodgers. I cannot get my hopes up with it, kind of like I did with Lamar Jackson, but it's out there. It's a possibility, and I'm not going to let go of it until we get a final decision. Okay, so moving on to what we know, and just grouping coaches together by what has happened so far. Let's start with the coaches that have been interviewed by the New York Jets. Okay, first off, Marcus Brady, ex-offensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. Clint Kubiak, pass game coordinator for the Denver Broncos this past season. Ex-OC of the Minnesota Vikings. Chad O'Shea, passing game coordinator / wide receivers coach, last couple of seasons with the Cleveland Browns, obviously a Bill Belichick disciple. Kevin Patullo, passing game coordinator of the Eagles. Nathaniel Hackett, ex-head coach of the Broncos. Brian Johnson, QB coach from Philly. And then Nick Caley, tight ends coach from the New England Patriots. And one more quick point I wanted to make. If Hackett were to get the Jets job, I would not be surprised if the Jets bring on Clint Kubiak in maybe a similar role that he had with the Denver Broncos, where he's the passing game coordinator, maybe he is the quarterback coach. We look at Kubiak's career, he actually ran a really successful offense with the Vikings back in 2021. It wasn't elite, it wasn't top 5. They were above average in yards and points. They were 12th in the NFL in yards, 14th in points, first in the National Football League in INTs thrown, and they were actually top 10, 9th overall in red zone touchdown percentage. So, Kubiak's a guy who's worked with a guy in Kirk Cousins. He has familiarity with the West Coast system. I could see like a dual package coming in New York, and then Kubiak and Hackett really running the show offensively, trying to, not only just call plays and develop players, but figure out the quarterback position. And you kind of get that feeling that, hey, maybe Aaron Rodgers would like to join the Jets at least a little bit more with Hackett running the show offensively, aka his guy. Moving on to interests / requests here. These are 3 candidates that have been linked to the Jets, but they haven't actually had the formal interview with the team. Frank Reich, ex-head coach of the Colts. Joe Brady, quarterback coach of the Bills. He's actually been the one requested here by the Jets to interview, but that's still up in the air. And then Gary Kubiak has also been linked to the Jets multiple times. Now, shifting gears and talking about the coaches that have outright denied interviews or just frankly have zero interest in joining the team. Darrell Bevell, quarterback coach of the Miami Dolphins. Cliff Kingsbury, ex-head coach of the Cardinals. Brian Callahan, O-line coach of the Browns. And then again, Joe Brady here, because Ian Rappaport did reference Brady loves Buffalo. He could want to stay. Ken Dorsey is also getting some head coaching looks. They're OC, so maybe there's a chance Brady either stays as quarterback coach or gets promoted to full-time OC in Buffalo. So there's a chance he could actually deny it. But the Jets have still put in their request either way. And then last but not least, I did want to talk about some big names here that haven't really been linked to the Jets. There's no request, there's no interview that has taken place, but I feel like all of these guys should at least get a look. Greg Roman, the ex-offensive coordinator of the Ravens. Greg Olson, the senior offensive advisor for the Rams. Todd Monken, the OC of the Georgia Bulldogs. Doug Marrone, O-line coach of the Saints. And then Byron Leftwich, who was recently let go from the Buccaneers. I think if you're talking worst case scenario, let's say all the guys interested in the Jets job just end up not getting it. All the big names get either taken or they don't have any interest. I think the Jets still have an opportunity to go land like a Joe Lombardi, who is the offensive coordinator of the Chargers. You can make an argument, maybe a scapegoat. Instead of parting ways with Staley, they just used him instead, kind of as an excuse. But by no means am I saying he's like an elite level OC, but he's still floating around out there. Who else? Scott Turner, former Commanders offensive coordinator, Norv Turner's son, actually. So maybe there's something there. But again, I think that's those two guys would be in play if none of the other names that we just talked about don't work out. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I would say still that Hackett is probably the front runner right now. It's between Hackett or Bevel, but again, Bevel said no, I'm good. So now it's looking like it's going to be Hackett. We'll see what happens though. We will see what happens. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, go Jets.